Our favorite South African talent, Mr. Ricky Canaries, has been announced to C9. He's finally joining the roster. There's 9 in the queue, ladies and gentlemen. First successful day at Boxer 10 Mans. We had one go off already. I'm not playing, but the hub is popping. You want to get involved? Again, you can go to Twitter. Boxer 10 Mans, okay? Follow and DM. You'll get an invite to the hub. Anybody can join. It's free to join. All right. The day has come. Finally. We all knew it because DK don't miss. Floppy was going to get announced to C9. Today's the day. Floppy's announced to C9. Deal value of $432,000, which means his salary is like $11,000 or $12,000 a month. To the average Joe, $11,000 or $12,000 is a small fortune. In terms of CSGO pros, based on what we've seen, even within just C9, $11,000 or $12,000 is not that much money. We're looking at Alex is close to $40,000. So for Floppy to be, at $11,000 or $12,000, is he worth the money? Yes, he is worth the money. We know that much. All right. Today, the demo we're going to watch is a match that, for me, is the catalyst for why I believe in Floppy 100%, no matter what team he plays on. It's the match from IEM Katowice, the silent Katowice, the kind of first big land that got hit by Rona where there was no crowd. And he had a 1v4 versus Astralis. It had everything. Amazing movement. He clearly had ice in his... It was proof to me that Floppy had what it took. Just all of that round. Because he played it, his movement was perfect. There was no nerves whatsoever. He cycled through all the options in his head. It was 1v4 versus the best team at the time. There was a million things here that made this such a special moment for Floppy. One of my favorite 1v4s ever. And it's going to be at the end of this half. So we'll watch the whole CT half. I don't remember the rest of it. And we're going to talk about Floppy. So a little bit more context on who Floppy is, right? Some of you know, of course. And I jumped the gun talking about that 1v4 already. But Floppy, for those of you who are maybe European or don't know or haven't heard of him in his past, he's an ESEA forum troll. MDL lifer as his premier, which became MDL, so same level. I played in MDL for 10 seasons. Okay, 10 full seasons. Maybe not all of them full. Some of those are in the same season. I didn't count them. 11 seasons of MDL, okay? And now he's regarded as one of the biggest prospects to come out of North America, unequivocally. There's not many players that somebody would look to that would say he's the guy we want to lead the charge for our next team. I think him and Obo right now are two of these kind of riflers. I don't know. I feel like Floppy might even be more valuable than Obo. But we'll see. Obo's proven. He's on the top 5 team. Floppy has something to prove still. Some of this justifies why Floppy may have a lower salary. Another reason why he might have a lower salary is because he's coming from the original Cloud9 roster. So there might have been something in his contract or a previous salary connected to this one that influenced why he's getting less. I assume based on incentives, his salary can go up based on how well Cloud9 do, maybe at Flashpoint. Say the high placing at Flashpoint. I think right now they're going to be favored to win Flashpoint based on the teams that we've seen, but we don't know how well they'll play together. So there's a big question mark here, but I think we'll see, as long as the team does well, Floppy's salary will improve. I personally think he's worth more. I think he should be worth more than Mezzi, and they're right around kind of the same level, but listen, I'm just happy he's on the roster. I'm cheering for this team again because of all the transparency, because Henry G's GM, and because I'm a huge fan of Floppy. I'm just glad he's on the roster. So I'm sure as long as everything works out, everybody's going to get the money they deserve. I'm going to assume, but it is kind of interesting to see him come on for almost so cheap, I would say. If we think about Woxic, it's up to 30K, and then Alex is close to 40K. It's there's a big, I can understand Mezzi around 10K, and less so Floppy. Floppy to me in my head maybe is 15 or something. But the team is very expensive at this point. So I think maybe, it just a first glance for me, I'd be Alex, if Alex was 35 and Floppy was, because that already seems really, really high, but he also, as we talked about before, has the most work to do. If he was 35 and then Floppy was 15, and Mezzi was around 10, 11, that would make a bit more like kind of logical sense to me. And I really feel like Floppy is going to have a huge role in whether or not Cloud9 win. I mean, the whole team should, but at this point, there's not really a weak link. The only big question mark for me, well, the two big question marks is, can Alex call without Zywoo on his team? And will Woxic come back to form? We know Woxic is one of the most mechanically skilled players in the game, but he wasn't in form, and that's why he got dropped off of Mouse Sports. I really think, though, that Mouse Sports made a huge mistake there. I mean, their roles are so awkward right now. Like 3 different players are opping, and Woxic, it's just hard to find a Woxic, and I think that's why he's worth his weight in gold. Whereas the 3 riflers that join Alex and Woxic are not quite as, they're a little bit more replaceable, to be frank. But he could be close to a star rifler on this team, and apparently he plays a lot of hard spots and a lot of unfun spots in different maps and doesn't really care where he plays. I recommend watching It's Server Time. It's a podcast I want to shout out here. It's Server Time. I've been watching a couple of their episodes, and they're on episode 2, and Josh Mix is on this team, and he is the analyst for Cloud9, and has a lot of good things to say about Floppy. I would recommend checking that out. Give that a shout out. So yeah, why don't we hop into the match and just talk about this? So this match here, right here, is Astralis versus Cloud9 2-0. So Cloud9 lost this game. And overall, I mean, everyone sucked on Cloud9, but Floppy did have a good train. So he was only 180 R. And on the CT side, which what we're looking at, went 14-12, 114 ADR, and of course the 1v4 to really, shine a spotlight on this man. So let's go ahead and take a look now into the match here and understand a little bit more about our favorite South African talent, Ricky Canaries, Flopmeister, on Twitter, ESEA forum troll, and try to see if we can see the potential talent right before our eyes in some random demo here. And this was a big match. Weird part for Cloud9, of course, is that they hold that thought. Okay, fills a shot. Zipix actually farmed all series. Weird part for Cloud9 is, of course, Rona hit hard. Really unfortunate. They were looking like a good team. The team I'm coaching right now for fun are using a lot of Cloud9 strats for different things. They had some of the best flashbangs and tactics in North America. I think JT was an excellent caller. I think Floppy was an excellent star player. They were missing some consistency on some of their pieces. And I think the issue with them primarily, let's say they had an org like Envy. They have the infrastructure of Envy, and but they have the expectations for Envy, right? They're a little bit lower. But with Cloud9, it's because, and Envy has won majors in CS, but that's that's a long time past at this point. And so is Boston, to be fair. But since then, Envy have punched well below their weight with all of their new rosters, especially the North American ones. And they've kind of tarnished their reputation a little bit in terms of expectations. But Cloud9, I think, are holding themselves to a much higher standard and have stuck it through with a team that kind of went down and took a risk on this team. This is the first shot in the dark, picking up the ATK roster to see if they can, build that magical Boston run winning team again. And it didn't seem like it was possible. So I think the problem for this Cloud9 is that they were a very good and well-respected team, but they weren't looking like world beaters, and the expectations were just too high for Cloud9. And of course, it is not an asterisk. It is a lot of this has to do with the fact that things go online, and we didn't really get to see them compete versus international competition all that much. So it's a big shame for them. It was a big development opportunity for all these players, and I hope they all find homes. Because, of course, there's just nothing but good things to say about the roster as a whole, even if Floppy, was a star. Every team's got its stars, but yeah. I was trying to think of an analogy, stars don't shine without the contrast of darkness in the sky, but that doesn't make sense because that would make his teammates just empty plots of space. But okay, Floppy looking for the 5-7 hold on the lower ramp. Nice flat right angle. And sometimes flat right angles are not good because they get pre-fired, but that one less so. Front spools, a little bit of cover to upper, and people will hard clear Dennis. Sometimes they'll run straight. Sometimes they'll clear the bomb train. So you can actually stand there as a not so often pre-fired spot and try to get kills. It feels like in CSGO most of the time, you're looking not to sit on a hard flat angle like right in the corner because of getting pre-fired, but you have to think, when you think about the angles that you stand in, you have to think what is the person who's attacking the angle thinking about, and then you can find your off angles. It's really that simple. What would you be looking at? What would you be clearing if you were running down the ramp in their position? That is the primary question. So, as an inner player, Floppy, he has a lot of responsibility. We talked about this with Esatag the other day, but your job is to kind of accurately calm whether or not it's going to be some kind of inner hit, to be able to hold the site, to play to stay alive more than to play to kill. If you get the 5v4, it's insane if a team is going to try to hit B in a 4v5 situation because the retakes are very easy. So for Floppy to get this kill, 100 HP and stay alive is just his job done and more. It really comes down to if they can trade him out. He'll take a very confident angle to try to stop them from entering the site. Very nice first bullet accuracy and a flash for the lower ramp itself. And it's honestly just good. Like, the angle clearing is on point, and his team does the rest of the job just fine. So, I mean, this round is won because of Floppy for sure. Everyone contributed, but the opening kill's big. The information's huge. Stopping the trade is basically the closing kill. And then after that, it's so unlikely that Astralis win. Cloud9 really would have had to put it in a mid and pitch it. Oh, he's looking for a lurk. Okay. We don't know if he smells anybody, if anybody's actually walked down, but he seems to be quite paranoid about this prospect. But now he's officially cleared out all the angles, so. In this spot with a teammate, you can play up here because you don't have to worry as much about upper. Now, if you don't have the teammate, you're really worried about getting someone lurking out upper and clearing you. Top pop, top blue, whatever you call it. Because I know so many Europeans from events, I'll be calling both things pop, like pop as in the pop dog train and ladder pop now, when I should be calling it ladder and the pop dog train pop. I've conflated my calls. I just call everything pop. Ooh, okay. So it falls back nice and quick. I mean, you don't want to throw that Molotov too far in, right? You want that to be shallow, even though you give up a lot of space on the ramp, because it takes time to spread. If he throws it up the ramp, they might come barreling forward while he's in animation and then not get the opportunity to pull his gun out. But here, once again, I mean, job done, right? He's got his 2 kills. He stayed alive for long enough. Rotations are in. It's 3v2. You would assume they don't blow this. Or should I say Astralis to clutch it? No. Okay. Yeah. And that's pretty much protocol. Ideal situation for Floppy. Get the incendiary out. Know when to throw it down. Not take damage on the peak. And these are like the original kind of like get right nades for inner that everyone still throws, basically. Whoa, Floppy looking for the re-aggression. That is so confident. I'm really shocked to see that, actually. They thought for sure that he ran away, and when he popped back up. And I think, you know, what you're going to do when you... This is a huge underdog match, right? The mentality has to be that Astralis are thinking Cloud9 are scared. They probably haven't watched a demo on Cloud9. Cloud9 have probably DM'd 3 hours the night before and 3 hours the day of. Barely got any sleep thinking about taking on Astralis and put every ounce of juice into making sure they win this match, but then because of that are now terrified of the prospect of losing or not playing up to standard, telling themselves, listen, guys, we got to stick to the game plan, but we also can't play scared, but we also got to be ourselves, but we also got to recognize that they might know how to play against it, but you know what I mean? And playing that mind game against yourself. And so for Floppy to basically, in conclusion, for Floppy to jump up again with 12 HP and take that fight off the smoke is really nice to see, because it's you not playing too passive. Because we talked about this, the S-Tag demo as well. That machine brought up on the desk that I think was really good is that if you play the percentages constantly, you're not going to get the edge versus elite competition. And so Floppy, felt there was an opportunity in that moment and just went for it. And it's a small thing, but it's really, really good to see. You really have to think about, you don't want to think about the other team like they're bots in the server, but you can't really think about anybody like they're infallible, immortal descendants of Sun Tzu, like deserve all the respect in the world. You have to really look at them like they're just players with a mouse and keyboard controlling player models. You're prepared enough to understand what to do. You believe in your aim. Don't play like they're better than you. I think that's the key thing. Okay, so a good spray. He's winning a lot, basically every single opening duel at this point. Small thing running forward onto the spools is nice. You don't take any damage as long as you hit that. Fastest way to get down safely, and a quick headshot. The aim is looking good here for Floppy. Looking very good. And now your guys' mouth should start watering a little bit because we're coming up to the fateful round. The reason, in my opinion, why Floppy is a real prospect. And he should be... Floppy should be... If Floppy doesn't give you faith in your career as a Counter-Strike player, I don't know what will. This guy was in the trenches for 10-plus seasons of MDL. Grinding away, losing games, playing with teams and players he probably constantly thought were not going to go anywhere. Over and over again and not going anywhere. There's no one that has had his story with that much amount of grinding in the exact same league for so long, only to come out of it and not just go slowly through invite, but instead instantly impress, go to the top of North America, and is now regarded as one of the hottest prospects. That is a really amazing story, and I think very important for people to see. I think what's really good about it, is that it's like the whole concept of Roger Bannister and how he did the, oh wow, it was a really nice clutch by Modem, looking sharp as well. Oh, he's pulling 150 ADR in this half. And I think he was the guy to do the 5-minute mile. It's like once he did the 5-minute mile, before that no one thought it was possible, and then after he did it, everyone broke the record, or everyone was able to do a 5-minute mile, no problem. And I think that is important to happen in sports, because a lot of things that we don't believe are possible, or reasons that we lose faith in ourselves, is because we don't see somebody in our position succeed, or that has done it in the past. And there aren't many stories like Floppy's. To be in limbo and then suddenly to come... These are my favorite stories. These automatics to TSM, Sticko to absolute farmer on Godsent, from the bot support, kind of like cute support player on Mouse Sports, to now star player fragger farmer on, and he was a good role player. They call him a bot, but he was a good role player, but he was not a star player, and no one thought that he could be. And so those are my favorite stories. Those are my favorite stories. We should do a video on Sticko. Once again, this kind of crack spot. I feel like people don't do this as much anymore. We saw S-Tag just kind of listening, spotting once, but not jiggle peeking. And I'm really not a huge fan of when people do jiggle peek and take damage, because it just felt like it was like clockwork. People would run a default on T side, and then they'd come to lower ramp, they'd spot, they'd spam, they'd pre-fire spam because they know you're jiggle peeking, and and then you take 80 damage through the wall with an op, or 50 damage to the leg, or few bullets up the body, drop your Molotov, and there's still a minute and a half left in the round, the T's can do anything. It's like, did you even get anything from that? Just because you saw them cross upper at a minute 40, like, don't tell me he wins this 1v2. Snuff one out. This is a really good place to sit, just to see if they're going to try to make a play. But on train, the tough part is you want to get information. Oh, and he gets the information. That's enormous. I mean, that just eliminates so many things. Wow, he actually pulls it off. The 1v2, and he gets a 1v4 this match as well. Easily done. Easily done. You can sit and wait for information in the clutch on train, but I think if you're not ending up close to Z in that spot and you're playing some super hard read, it can be really hard to win the round if you let the bomb go down on the other site and you're not close enough to get to see it fast enough. Because once the bomb is down on inner, there's just so many ways to play a post plant, and the same for outside. Let's see what Floppy does here. Oh, and in between timing. So remember how we saw Art at mid? Holy crap, he actually pushed it. Oh, no way. Interesting. So we saw, this is like another kind of like brave move, I guess, but we saw how Art pushed to, not everyone's watched every demo, I realize that. Oh shit, actually I recorded Art, but I didn't put it out yet. There was a round from the Art demo where he smokes a molly 3 seconds into the molly, or like 5 seconds into the molly, right before he thinks that the team is going to pull out another piece of utility to either re-molly, re-smoke, or to, you know, whatever. And then he tries to peek off of that. So we saw him smoke right in the corner to look for an angle. He didn't create one, but then just went for a little spam, and then made it feel like he was going to spam and then fall back. It didn't work, but that's what the idea was. All right. So let's go ahead and move on forward. USP round, and I think, all right here, everyone buckle up, okay? If you're walking around the house doing chores, if you're listening in the background, gather around to the PC. Witness greatness here, okay? One of the most beautiful rounds of the year. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. All the pieces fall around him. Floppy worried about closing this half off with a lead. 7-6, but they'll need every single advantage that they can get. And his team is withering away. Zipic still left up. Device still on the server. Magisk laser focus. Dupree hungry for these entries. And one Floppy boy. OC still around. They decide to gamble. But the server is quiet. There's not a player in sight outside. And suddenly a smoke pops in the left ear cup. In the left HyperX ear cup of Floppy's. Beautiful cans. Okay. He's now in position in ladder. To think about a flank, it's probably going to be his best option while his team searches for an easy first kill. They clear out CT spawn. They have control of Z. It's not the worst situation in the world. But now we hear the pairs of boots storming down the ramp, and Floppy, he takes heed. It's time to move into action. Another teammate dies. Floppy, flanking the lower ramp, spots a shadow. Here's an op shot go off. Grabs the first kill. Second is done with. He can spot and reset. The ladder movement. He knows Dupree's behind him. Where did Dupree come from? Last player up. Flash goes high. It's good on Zipix. He'll tap the bomb. Tap it again. Jump up to look for the duel. It's a fake Zipix. The clutch minister gets kicked out of the church, and Floppy will pull out the 8th round that Cloud9 needed the most to get this game to a 12-16 loss in style. should we just end on that round? Like, I don't even think we should actually. So that round was so beautiful, right? Because should we watch it again? Okay, let's watch it again. That round was so beautiful for so many reasons. So number one, like it's the flank. Number two, like he had the cognizance to be aware of Dupree on the flank right there with just a little sound cue. He did everything there. Like he did everything in terms of smart plays and calculations, and then executed it perfectly. So coming down the ramp, getting the first 2 kills, that's like whatever. He heard them, he got the frags, and then he dealt with the players. And then when he got up the ladder, he had to strafe off the ladder to peek down the ramp and then perfectly aim to kill Dupree. Instant headshot on Dupree. On Dupree's screen, that probably looks crazy for him to fly down the ladder that way. And then to top it off, finally, he throws the flash, goes up the ladder for information, is not afraid to get information, doesn't just play it cards super close to his chest, instead plays it with confidence, gets to the top of the ladder, throws the flash over. The flashes end up being very effective, and Xyp9x has to fall back, jumps off, goes for the double tap, psychological warfare defuse, and then instead of just simply either sticking the bomb or peeking the right side, he jumps up and then peeks and takes the fight himself. Doesn't even just wait there to see if Xyp9x will peek him. And it was just a perfect move. And it was just a series of perfect moves. And again, it's about the composure of it all. Now, I think it's really the movement that'll be the biggest sign that somebody's nervous in moments like these. And he didn't mess up a single mechanical input, really. I mean, everything was just ideal. No time wasted whatsoever. Confidence. There it is. Good peek. And Xyp9x, he's not holding for that. He's not holding for that at all. It's beautiful. I'm not watching the next round. He probably whiffs the next round because he's so like filled with. He knows that's going on HLTV. He knows everyone's gonna be talking about that on the forums. He's just filled with adrenaline. He probably whiffs his ass off the next round. I'm not watching that. So that was sweet, and that was Floppy, and so that's why I'm excited about Floppy. And Cloud9 got a great deal. I hope he gets more money, compared to his teammates at least, down the road. And I hope he's successful, of course, and I hope the whole roster is successful because we're supporting teams that are transparent about their salaries. I think it's great. So, hey, listen, on the right side, people always say Floppy's worth more, as opposed to, Alex is probably going to be like, every time he whiffs, 40K IGL, lol. So, might be nice for Floppy. We'll see. Let's be real, probably rather take the money. Anyways, that's it for Floppy. This probably drops tomorrow. I'm recording this the same day as the vlog, but probably dropping this tomorrow. So, yep, I think I'm going to do Nico now, and I want to do Nico, BMass, and Kirby, I think. Probably the next 3. So, yeah, appreciate y'all, and see you back here for another Coach Lau. I'm out.